73 laps completed in Las Vegas. Jeff Gordon's led 68 of them. 11 times he has led the first 50 laps in a race. 3 of those resulted in victories, once at Dover and twice at Martinsville. We've had 3 caution flags for a total of 12 laps. And in the garage area, Mike Bliss, Bobby Labonte, Michael McDowell, and Eric Almirola.
Those first 3 cars, though, the 24, 17, and 48, their lap times are mirroring each other's. You know, 85 to an 86, somewhere along in there every lap.
But Steve, nobody's catching Jeff Gordon.
Copy.
Steve?
And Mike's listening to Jeff Gordon. He just got off the radio with Steve Letarte. He said the car's good right now, but you guys have talked about changing track conditions. He says now the car is a little bit tight getting in the corners.
One thing we have to keep up with Jeff Gordon is, think about this. How many times halfway through the race, he runs good, leads a race like this, halfway through something happens to the car, and all of a sudden he can't get out of his own way.
Well, and what has happened to him before, he's been up in clean air, leading this race a lot. We see him sometimes get in trouble back in traffic. Car drives totally different. Talked about McMurray a while ago, started back in the 24th position. He's working on trying to crack the top 10 as he pulls up to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car. That would be a battle for 10th we're looking at.
Those first 3 cars, let's see lap times. 30.90 on Gordon, 30.93 on Kenseth, 30.92 on Jimmy Johnson. They're just same lap per lap.
Look at McMurray. That number 1 just likes the high side, no matter who drives it here. Martin Truex piloted that car the last few seasons. Always like to run up high here, that Michael Waltrip groove we used to call it. And maybe now it'll be the Jamie Mack lane.
Well, and I think Jamie is just so determined to prove to the racing world, even though he's enjoying that Daytona 500 win, that, you know what, I can also win at other racetracks, not just restrictor plate tracks.
Montoya with Ryan Newman. They're battling for 12th. They're about 13 seconds back of the leader.
One thing that we've laughed about or joked about almost all weekend long was nobody wanted to run the high line. They were all kind of hanging around the bottom on the white line around the bottom. But boy, today we're starting to see some cats venture right on up there next to the safer barrier.
You know what, Mike, you talked about Ryan Newman, asked me about Stuart Haas. You know, certainly they want to win a race. They still have not won a race since Ryan moved over there. The biggest thing they're looking for is the checkered flag, period. 2 DNFs in the first 2 races of 2010. Outside the top 35 right now.
So when you have a couple of bad races like that, all of a sudden you have to quit trying to win, Larry. You just got to start trying to finish and get some points, get back in the points, so you don't fall so far behind. You have no chance of making the chase.
Darrell, what's that old saying? Well, it's not an old saying, but it is your saying. Driver and his wife have a child, have their first child. Driver goes on and wins the next race.
It's happened a number of times. It happened to me. We were talking to Jeff Fuller, the Northeast guy. Right. It happened to him. I just know through the years I've heard a driver say, yeah, my wife gave birth to our child this weekend, and I'm in Victory Circle today. So, like I always said, I guess I didn't have enough kids.
So the question is, Matt, can it happen to Carl today?
Well, if you look at the way that car is running, pretty stout so far, running 5th. Carl's very descriptive about how his race car is and the balance issue, which is free. Also very descriptive about racing against the guy who's right behind him in his mirror, the 18 of Kyle Busch.
I should rephrase
yeah, if you're anywhere next to his spotter, Jason, I mean, if that's how we're going to race, next time I pull up to him, I guess I should just pawn him out of the way. He's a total idiot.
And of course, his coach on top of the box, Bob Osborne, made a few comments that calmed him right down. And Larry Mack, I know you've been in that position many times.
Well, there's no question. That's what you have to do. Yeah, you have to work with him on what the car's doing, but this early in the race, you got to calm him down as far as trying to get back at somebody.
There isn't a lap goes by that some driver doesn't think some other driver is an idiot. And the chance is, Darrell, toward the end of the race, that idiot could become your best friend out there. You just don't know.
You don't know. And it doesn't take much when it's hot like it is today and the track's slick and the car's moving around. You're already aggravated. And all another driver does is just kind of irritate you a little bit, and you'll hit that talk back button just constantly.
Kyle Busch now in 6th. Dick Berggren.
Yeah, and he's a guy that used to be aggravated on the radio constantly, but Kyle Busch has learned to calm down, that he'll have better results by doing exactly that. He had recently called to his spotter and asked where he was getting beaten. The spotter, Jeff Dickerson, said, getting beaten on the exit. Busch said, I just don't know what makes me slow. This is a guy in 6th spot.
We talked to Kyle in the pre-race. You guys did it, and there's no question there's a little bit of frustration with Kyle right now. He just doesn't feel like they've got a winning car. He said we've got an 8th place car, not a winning car.
Matt Kenseth is slowly eating into Jeff Gordon's lead. It stands at 1.1 seconds. Gordon, the leader.
Congratulations on 10 years. 10 years? Congratulations, Fox, 10 years. I've done a great job. Thank you for all your incredible coverage.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, presented by Pennzoil, is sponsored by AT&T, a better 3G experience. By Napa, Napa know-how. And by FedEx, we understand you need reliable shipping options. FedEx. NASCAR and Fox live here in Las Vegas, and under caution, time for an AT&T race break. Our 4th caution, and it was Sam Hornish Jr., your long shot pick for the race. And Jeff, that trouble, turn 4.
Well, we've seen a lot of cars come up off this corner and get sideways. Here's Sam Hornish, late exit to turn 4. Car kicks out from underneath him. But again, the fact we got that little bit of grass right area, he's able to slide down around through there. And let's go down to pit road because we got pit stops with Krista.
Well, unlike at the start of the race, Jimmy Johnson is now pretty happy with his car. Just a small adjustment for the 48, the 17 of Matt Kenseth, looking for a little bit more front grip. Steve?
Chris and Jeff Gordon said the rear grip is better, but I need a little bit more help turning, so they're going to take a little air out of the right front tire, Matt.
And Joe Karasinski already made the wedge adjustment on the left side of Carl Edgerton. It's a little free, but not bad on the 99.
And Chris, I'm watching this race off of pit road. Let's take a quick look at Jeff Gordon. He loses some positions, but more importantly, look what happened to Jimmy Johnson. 16.2 on that pit stop. That's not normal for the 48.
Only 2 leaders in the race so far. Jeff Gordon leading 80-plus laps. Speaking of Jimmy Johnson, he's one of the drivers and his crew handling the hot slick track that we've heard a lot about. What other drivers do you think handle this better? What kind of adjustments do others need to make?
Well, the drivers, I mean, they're kind of like along for the ride, but what you really need is a good crew chief to help that driver. I like the fact that, you know, Chad Knaus is one of the best on pit road. Not to say Steve Letarte can't, but I like Darian Grubb and even guys like Steve Addington. They do a great job to complement their drivers.
Jimmy Johnson, you talked about what happened. Is this a lug nut comes out or is dropped here?
Well, we're watching right here. It looks like a pretty decent exchange to the right side. No, we had a lug nut come off right there on the right front. He had to stay a little bit longer, and that disrupted the flow. That cost him that additional, 2.5 seconds.
And compare it to Matt Kenseth, the 17 car, checking the times, and the gold standard
on our gold standard right there. Look at the right side. But what it affected from the time from the right to the left, all of a sudden it slowed him down almost 2 seconds, and it cost him on his total.
Speaking of pit crews, be sure to cast your vote all season long for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year. The standings from last week, you can keep an eye on those. And from your AT&T phone, text the car number of the pit crew you think is the best each race to 2258. Delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. We'll continue live from Las Vegas in just a moment.